Today is Veterans Day, the day where America memorializes, in a sense, all of the veterans of their armed forces. Obviously, Memorial Day is for those who've given their life for their country. Veterans Day for all veterans. And so here at the Young Turks, we're going to look back at how our country has treated our veterans, the current state of our veterans as well, and the ways that we have failed our veterans on a number of different fronts, despite the progress that there has been in some areas over the past 4 or 8 years. So these are some facts, some stats that are sad. They're tragic in many ways when you consider the human toll that we're talking about when we throw around numbers like this. More than 1.2 million U.S. veterans, or roughly 5% of the nation's 22 million former service members, do not have health care. And most uninsured veterans live in states that have rejected federal funding from the Affordable Care Act to expand Medicaid, the government's insurance program for low-income people. Now, as a percentage of former members of the military, 5% is actually lower than the population at large still, that's its own video that we need to do, that there's still 10% that don't have health insurance. But 5% have no health insurance. Many of them, 20% of all of the veterans, have some sort of service-related disability. Many will have psychiatric needs that they have to address, and they don't have any anything to turn to, any resources to turn to. And especially the fact that the Republicans enthusiastically in a number of different states, something like 20, 25 states, have turned down the funding to expand Medicaid because, screw them, they don't need it. That's veterans in many cases.
This is so incredibly ironic. And whenever you talk about going to war, right? Remember, when we first invaded Iraq, if you had the audacity to question that war or question the reason of us being there, Republicans would make the argument that you don't respect the troops. You don't respect the troops. You don't love the troops. No, you don't respect the troops. You use the troops as an excuse to go to war in a country where we don't belong.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you deny them incredibly important health benefits so they can get the treatment that they need when they come back to the United States. A lot of these veterans are dealing with serious psychiatric issues, whether it's PTSD or something else. When you look at the suicide rate among veterans, it's through the roof, and it's because they're dealing with these issues without the appropriate health care to cope with it.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, I just saw just before it came on that the Department of Veterans Affairs have awarded themselves, the executives have awarded $142 million in bonuses to all of their employees for 2014 because they did such a bang-up job.
Yeah. Well, they probably have health insurance. So that's good for them, obviously.
No, it's
and related to this, obviously the lingering decades-long healthcare costs, both physical and psychiatric, that many of the veterans need, Bernie Sanders, I think, he periodically sends out a tweet to the effect of, the cost of the war doesn't end when we finally, 2 decades later, pull the last troop out. It's when the last veteran dies.
Yeah. Because
they needed health care their entire life. And we don't factor that in. Most of the time, we don't even factor in the bombing. We have an OSO or whatever, the operating funds, the contingency funds. We don't even put that in the actual budget of the military, but we certainly don't factor in the long-term, decades-long healthcare costs.
We also don't factor in the fact that the people who get targeted to be part of the military, the people who get recruited, are typically kids who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, right? Poor backgrounds. They're specifically targeted because recruiters will go to them and say, hey, you know what? Here's a chance for you to turn your life around, right?
Yeah.
So once they're out of the military or once they come back, they don't have the same type of safety net that, the middle class or the upper middle class have. So if they're not given certain opportunities or certain abilities to kind of come back into society and be productive members of society, they're likely to end up homeless. And that's why you see a huge population of homeless veterans right now.
Well, I have stats on that really fast, if I just throw that out. The number of homeless veterans across the U.S. remains around 50,000 on any given night. That's a 33% drop from the estimated 75,000 homeless vets in 2010. So a good drop, but still a very large number of homeless veterans.
No, and it's horrific. And the inner city homeless problem in this country obviously is the wealth disparity in this country. And I don't want to turn into a conversation about that, but I thought it was an interesting point that you made. And I would agree that, the Republican Party, they're so strong on we will make our military the strongest. They have such an aggressive foreign policy stance. Don't mess with the United States because the Democrats are so soft and wishy-washy. But the reality is that it's an insult in lots of ways, but based on how you frame it. And that's an interesting way. And I hadn't really seen it framed quite like that. So it was interesting to see how you did that.
Thank you. Well, whenever they're talking about making the military strong, they're not talking about supporting the troops in every way possible to make sure that they live good lives after they serve our country. What they're specifically referring to is funding the Defense Department so as much money as possible goes to private contractors and weapons manufacturers that stand to profit considerably through going to war. That's what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I still remember in the days leading up to and then after the launch of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, just seeing those signs everywhere, support our troops, just everywhere. And even, I was much younger then, and even then it felt to me like for a large percentage of the people who put that out, it was a weapon to be used against liberals. Sure. That's all it was. And we know now that support our troops means now what it always meant. It means do not question the military adventure that we're proposing right now. That's all it means. Veterans, after they've served, for most politicians, especially Republicans, but some Democrats as well, serve one or two limited purposes. You put them in back of you for photo ops and speeches, and maybe one or two of them who have told you in advance that they will launch the next series of wars, you can put them up as potential congressmen.
Because having lived here for the period of time that I have, I've discovered that there is one insult above all else, is to call somebody unpatriotic. That is one of the worst things you can call anybody in this country. And so on the back of that, and frame it and describing it in that way of support our troops, brackets, because if you don't, you're unpatriotic. I mean, it's up there with being called a socialist.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is
with as little content.
Right.
Largely.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that being unpatriotic is taking taxpayer money, funding private contractors with it, and then risking the lives of thousands of members of our military just so you can go to war and companies can profit off of it. That's the most unpatriotic thing you can do.
Yeah. Okay, so more stats. Since 2009, more than 22,000 soldiers diagnosed with mental health disorders, including traumatic brain injuries, upon returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, have been kicked out of the U.S. Army for alleged misconduct. That means those soldiers no longer qualify for treatment, health care, or the retirement benefits they would have received with an honorable discharge. Possible policy change there could help with their problems going forward. And then to go back to something that you mentioned earlier with some stats on the suicide rate, the annual suicide rate among Iraq and Afghanistan veterans was 50% higher than the rate among civilians with similar demographic statistics. The Department of Veteran Affairs provides the stat that 22 former service members commit suicide each day, and that number is actually considered a low estimate.
That's why they gave themselves that bonus.
Exactly. They're doing such a bang-up job. Yeah. So look, we thank the veterans for what they did, their willingness to go, even when they were being lied to by the politicians and by a large percentage of the population, they still went, they still signed up. Even years into the conflict, when they saw that it was not going to be this easy 2-week roll into Baghdad, when they saw that it was going to be combating an entrenched insurgency in 1 and then 2 and possibly 3 countries, they still signed up. They were lied to, but they were brave regardless. And so we honor their service, their commitment to their country, and we ask that politicians do the same by actually providing for them when they come back from the Middle East.
And you're right. What is unconscionable for me is the fact that Tony Blair, Prime Minister Tony Blair, and George W. Bush agreed and it's been documented now, and they denied it for years, but it's now been documented and verified. They agreed a complicity 12 months before the invasion that they were going to go in.
Yeah.
And and Blair and Bush had a gentleman's agreement, whatever you want to call it, a rogue's agreement, that they would go in, regardless of what they found, because they knew that there was nothing really there, but they wanted to have a reason. Yeah. And it is that search for perpetual it's perpetual war.
Yeah.
Because it funds the lobbyists and it funds the industry and it's good for America and all of those things. And that's the patriotism that they're talking about, but that's not the patriotism that we're seeking to honor today.